When my sister was born, 100 birds gathered to pay homage to a phoenix. Yet she was swapped by the midwife in the dead of night. But as it happened, I was hiding under the bed at that moment. I thought they were just playing house. So I secretly switched my sister back. Years later, my sister was named Crown Princess and was about to enter the palace. Who could have expected a ragged girl to appear then and stop Mother crying out, "Mother, I am your true daughter. The position of crown princess should be mine." The moment I returned to the estate, I sensed that the atmosphere was wrong. Mother was sitting upright in the inner chamber. She dismissed the servants and gripped my hands tightly. "Zhaozhao, what are we to do? A great calamity has befallen the house. Why? Has Jiaojiao caused trouble again? Which young master did she offend today?" My younger sister, Jiaojiao, was lively and adorable by nature. At birth, the imperial preceptor prophesied she possessed the phoenix destiny, and His Majesty granted a marriage, naming her the future crown princess. She was raised like a precious gem since childhood, stunningly beautiful and exceptionally talented. Because her entire life would eventually be trapped within high palace walls, the whole family allowed her to live as she pleased before her coming of age. However, Mother, who was used to cleaning up after my sister, was now weeping uncontrollably. "It is not Zhaojiao. She hasn't caused any trouble. The Yi family is a prominent house of this dynasty. Now that my sister's wedding day is approaching, I truly cannot imagine what kind of major crisis could exist." The next moment, Mother tremblingly took out a longevity lock and a swaddling cloth. Zhaojiao, she is not of the Yi family's blood. She was swapped at birth. Mother told me that just a few days ago. Someone anonymously sent a letter and these two items. The letter spoke with such certainty. It claims that my sister Zhaojiao was deliberately swapped and taken away shortly after her birth. Now that the child has learned of her own background, she has come looking for us. This longevity lock is an ancestral heirloom. It was originally meant for you to wear, but was later given to Jiaojiao. Who would have known that later on? The lock mysteriously disappeared without a trace. And look at the fabric of this swaddling cloth. It is rarely seen among the common folk. I recognize this embroidery. It is clearly Nanny Rong's handiwork. I took the longevity lock and examined it closely. Other than being quite old, I really couldn't see anything unusual about it. "Mother, please set your heart at ease. What kind of prestigious family is our Yi family? With crowds of servants and maids. Little sister even had 3 wet nurses. How could anyone easily swap the child? But this longevity lock is real. The letter even describes her birthmark in perfect detail. If she were truly swapped, Zhaojiao is destined to be Empress. The crown prince is coming to present his betrothal gifts soon. If this is a case of deceiving the emperor, we will face the execution of our entire clan." Hearing the words, "deceiving the emperor," I cast aside my playful mood. I opened the letter and read it carefully. The letter claimed that, on the day of my sister's full-month banquet, someone swapped her child with the daughter of the Yi household. They took the real daughter away amidst the chaos. As I read on, faint distant memories suddenly flashed through my mind. It was when Mother was giving birth to my sister. Mother couldn't look after me, so I didn't see her for an entire month. I missed her so much, so I snuck into my mother's room to visit. I didn't see my mother there, only my soft, tiny baby sister in her cradle. As I was looking at her, I suddenly heard footsteps. I quietly hid behind the screen. I saw a woman looking around the room. Thinking she was playing hide and seek, I held my breath and stayed perfectly still. To my shock, the woman snatched my sister from the cradle and replaced her with another infant. I followed her quietly and saw her take my sister to the servants' quarters. Just then, someone called out to her, and she hurried away. Only then did I enter the room and put down the infant I was holding. I looked at my sister and the other baby. They did indeed look somewhat alike, but I knew at a glance which one was my true sister. Without hesitation, I swapped them back. As I carried my sister back to Mother's courtyard, she suddenly started crying loudly. Father caught me red-handed and gave me a stern lecture, strictly forbidding me from treating my sister like a toy. Later, Father took me to the borderlands, claiming it was to temper my character. In all that time, I had forgotten to tell my parents about this. At this moment, I recounted this memory exactly as it happened to Mother. To my surprise, Mother wept even harder. At first, I suspected this was all a conspiracy. But after hearing what you said, your sister must have truly been swapped. I hurriedly comforted her, saying that I had already swapped them back. Mother, however, sobbed. "You were just a child back then. How could you have carried a baby so far without being noticed?" Mother had forgotten again. The children of our Yi family possess immense strength from birth, and back then, hide and seek was my specialty. Actually, there is still another way to prove if that young woman is a Yi or not. It is just that this method is a bit. I decided to go and see that young woman. But before I could even leave, a servant came rushing in to report that Zhaozhao had started another fight. Passersby had already reported it to the capital magistrate. When I arrived at Tianxiang Pavilion with my guards, the entrance was already packed with people. As soon as I stepped inside, I saw my sister standing on the staircase. Her long whip pointed directly at the pair down below who were almost embracing. The man in the silk robe shouted angrily, "Jiaojiao, as a woman, how is it proper for you to be seen in public everywhere? And today you are even publicly harassing people. I must go to the Yi house and ask exactly how they raised their daughter." Hearing this, my expression darkened instantly, and I walked quickly to my sister's side, asking softly, "Are you all right?" When my sister saw me, her eyes instantly reddened. "Sister, I'm fine." Only then did I turn to look at the man. The person was none other than my fiancé of 10 years, Zhou Yuli, who had been studying hard at Qingshan Academy for 3 years without returning. When I went to the Zhou house this morning to visit his ailing mother, he had not yet returned home. Yet here he was, strolling about with another woman. What a devoted son he is. The woman leaning against him looked delicate and charming, and though she wore simple, worn-out clothing, she exuded a sense of pitiable vulnerability. As she looked at me, her eyes were filled with a mix of curiosity and admiration. Seeing me look at him, Zhou Yuli questioned, "Yay, Zhaozhao, you've come at just the right time. Jiaojiao is snatching things and harassing people. Have the women of the Yi family become this arrogant?" At his words, the woman beside him immediately cast a strange look in my direction. My sister, however, gave a cold laugh. "The jewelry I take a liking to. No one has ever dared to snatch from me. You should check your own status. How dare you lecture me? Who gave you the nerve? Yeah, Zhaozhao, I am your future brother-in-law. You have no respect for your elders. You truly have no manners at all." I looked coldly at Zhou Yuli, this fiancé who was intent on the imperial examinations and uninterested in marriage. This match was arranged by my grandfather 10 years ago. My family is a line of military generals, and my sister is said to carry the prophecy of the phoenix, with our family's power and influence at its absolute peak. However, my grandfather was deeply worried. He dared not marry me off into another noble family. He chose instead the youngest son of the censor-in-chief, the Zhou family, who held the emperor's favor but made enemies everywhere. Originally, we were supposed to be married 6 years ago, but his grandparents passed away. He had to observe mourning for 3 years. Later, his father, the censor, passed away as well, and he had to observe another 3 years of mourning. Once the 3 years were over, his 2 elder brothers were marginalized by those his father had offended and sent to work in remote, desolate regions. He left behind the words, "Without achieving merit, how can I build a home?" He then ran off to Qingshan Academy to study and did not return for a full 3 years. After all that back and forth, I have somehow become the town's spinster, but I find myself quite at ease. With my father and brother away on the front lines, I manage every affair of the Yi household, even the supplies for the Yi army at the border. Most of them were secured by me. My younger sister is indignant, telling me time and again that once she becomes the crown princess, the first thing she will do is annul my engagement to the Zhou family, so she can choose the finest man in the world for me. Zhou Yuli's mother, Lady Zhou, is often ill. My mother felt pity for the future mother-in-law living alone, so she often sent me to the Zhou house to take care of her. Looking back now, my kindness was truly cast before swine. I spoke coldly. "Master Zhou, the upbringing of the Yi family is not for you to criticize. Our marriage contract has yet to be fulfilled, so how could you be Zhaojiao's brother-in-law? Secondly, you have been away from home for a year without returning to visit your own mother, yet you are here idling about with another woman. What right do you have to judge her? Zhaozhao is the future crown princess. How dare you seize her belongings? Who gave you the audacity? How dare you question the upbringing of my noble estate? Even your father, Censor Zhou, would not dare speak to my Yi family like this. Where exactly do you get your confidence?" With these 4 questions fired off, the scene fell into immediate silence. Zhou Yuli's face flushed a deep red. Suddenly, the woman beside him filled with tears and bowed to me with a curtsy. "Elder sister, this is all my fault. It has nothing to do with Brother Yuli. I offer you my sincerest apologies here. Brother Yuli asked me to help him pick out a hairpin for his mother. I never expected to snatch something so dear to a person of your status. Please, sister, do not be angry. I will let you have this hairpin." I shall simply choose another. I took a quick glance at the style. It was clearly intended for a young woman. How could it possibly be suitable for Zhou Yuli's mother? Did they really think I was so easily fooled? Seeing that, I didn't take it. The woman whimpered, saying, "Sister, I know I was wrong. Won't you please forgive me?" Sister, I have become particularly sensitive to that form of address lately. First, I had a sister show up at my door claiming kin. And now here comes another delicate little flower of a sister. What I was even more sensitive to was Zhaozhao. With a flick of her wrist, her long whip lashed out suddenly, leaving a deep white gouge on the wooden stairs of the Tianshang restaurant. What is this sister nonsense? You are a commoner. Do not try to climb into our social circle. My sister only has me as her sister. If you call her that again, be careful or I'll tear your mouth apart. The woman seemed frightened, cowering behind Zhou Yuli, though her eyes remained fixed on me, filled with a sense of grief, as if I were a heartless villain. I was so angry I couldn't help but laugh. Young Master Zhou, aren't you going to introduce us? This person by your side. Zhou Yuli smiled triumphantly at his sister. This is Miss Xu Panxing. She is my savior. A savior. What a tired old script this is. I can see you're just looking to take her in. Let me tell you, I won't allow it. Stop your nonsense. Ruining Miss Panxing's reputation. When the time comes, let alone your sister, even the entire Yi family won't be able to protect you. A sudden sense of foreboding rose within me. Sure enough, Zhou Yuli lowered his voice and said to me, "Let's not discuss such matters here. Zhaozhao, you have always been sensible. Aren't you afraid that if this gets out, it will affect the Yi family? The Yi family stands tall and upright, and we do not fear idle gossip. Nor do I think there is anything that could affect the Yi family. On the contrary, sir, your words are devious, and I know not what dark intentions you harbor." Zhou Yuli glared at me fiercely, and suddenly shouted loudly, "Jiaojiao, the sister you are protecting everywhere now, is not your biological sister at all. The young lady beside me, Xu Panxing, is the true daughter of the Yi family, your own blood sister. She was deliberately switched at birth. We have proof." These words were like a drop of cold water hitting a pot of boiling oil. The crowd instantly erupted in an uproar. I stared at him coldly. My sister clutched my hand tightly beside me, yet my eyes were fixed on the deep white mark Zhaozhao had just left on the wood, where one could even see the wooden splinters torn open. The corners of my mouth curled upward. With such strength, who else but a Yi family member could possess it? Xu Panxing looked at me with tear-filled eyes, as if she were about to pounce on me and call me sister at any second. I gripped my sister's hand back to soothe her, and said coldly, "Zhou Yuli, you spout such nonsense here. Have you considered the consequences? Have you considered the fate of the Zhou family?" Zhou Yuli's face turned pale, and then green. I ignored him further, and turned to leave with my sister. As we passed Xu Panxing, I gave her a long look, and said calmly, "What is real cannot be fake. What is fake cannot be real." So, she was the fake sister who had come to claim kinship. Zhou Yuli chose to make such a scene in public. What was his true intention? I couldn't help but ponder how many others were pulling the strings behind this. Once we returned to the manor with my sister, I immediately ordered people to investigate Xu Panxing's background. My sister was full of anxiety, clinging tightly to my sleeve. "Sister, tell me, could what they said be true? Was I really swapped at birth? If so, does that mean I don't have to marry the crown prince? Then I could go to the border to find father and my big brother." Just moments ago, she was terrified. Why is she suddenly unafraid now? What use is there in being afraid? Besides, if I don't marry into the Eastern Palace, then you won't have to sacrifice yourself by marrying into the Zhou family sister. Wait, no, that is not right. If I'm not the Yi family's daughter, will father and brother still take me in if I go to the border? Oh dear, a thought flashed through my mind, and I asked slowly, "So do you want to be the daughter of the Yi family, or do you not?" I wanted to get to the bottom of it. When exactly did the Grand Preceptor prophesy my sister's fortune? There was likely a deeper plot behind all this. Later, Mother and I prepared generous gifts to seek an audience with the Grand Preceptor, but we waited at the gate for a long time. Before a young attendant came out to reply, "The Grand Preceptor is in seclusion and is not seeing anyone." We had no choice but to head back home. In the carriage, Mother sighed. "I heard you met that child yesterday. What do you think of her?" "I haven't even finished my—" The carriage was suddenly blocked. Zhou Yuli was standing right in front of the carriage with Xu Panxing. A wave of fury rushed to my head. What on earth is Zhou Yuli trying to do? I had them brought to a private parlor owned by the Duke of Zhen's estate. As soon as we entered, Xu Panxing knelt at my mother's feet. "Mother, I am your true daughter. Mother, do you have any idea how hard I've searched for you?" My mother looked at Xu Panxing, a flicker of agitation flashing in her eyes. She resembles so alike too much alike. Just as she reached out to help Xu Panxing up, I quickly stepped in to stop her. Things aren't clear yet. Mother, please don't get excited. Sister, I am your real sister. I have only one sister. She is at home right now, about to marry into the imperial family, to become the crown princess. What kind of stray cat or dog are you, to dare to impersonate her? Zhou Yuli couldn't help but interject accusingly. Miss Yi, you really refuse to give up until you see the coffin. The longevity lock and swaddling clothes we sent. Didn't you see them? I glanced at him, too lazy to engage. He became even more enraged. Even if you can imitate material objects, what about her face? Open your eyes and look closely. Who does Xu Panxing really look like? I looked at Xu Panxing. Although she looked familiar, I couldn't recall who she resembled at the moment. My mother whispered in my ear, "She looks exactly like your grandmother." As soon as she finished speaking, Zhou Yuli snapped, "Open a scroll. This is a portrait of my grandmother in her youth alongside your grandmother in hers. Take a good look. Doesn't Panxing look exactly like your grandmother?" I took a close look. No wonder I felt she was familiar when I first saw her. It turns out she looks exactly like my grandmother. Mother, upon seeing the painting, hurriedly helped Xu Panxing up. Xu Panxing took the opportunity to fall into Mother's arms. The two of them wept in each other's arms. I watched them, feeling helpless. I am certain I truly did swap my sister back at that time. There is absolutely no possibility of a mistake. I asked Xu Panxing, "Miss Xu, since you say you were taken by someone, how did the person who took you reveal the truth to you? Did she take you away, just so you could come and claim your family 15 years later?" Xu Panxing wiped away her tears and began to recount the hardships of these past years. The woman who took her was named Zhang Mei, who had once worked as a day laborer at the Yi estate for a few days. Zhang Mei envied the Yi family's wealth, and seeing that my grandmother looked like her own mother yet lived such a vastly different life, she grew resentful and was struck by a brazen idea. She swapped the two children. Xu Panxing wept, saying, "At the Xu family, I was never well-fed or properly clothed. I worked hard every single day, yet I couldn't even earn a kind look from mother." When Xu Panxing grew up, Zhang Mei betrothed her to the butcher Wang's family. The butcher had a violent son, and marrying into that family would have been a death sentence. Just as she was in complete despair and wanted to end it all, she unexpectedly saved Zhou Yuli. Zhou Yuli gave her money, allowing her to flee the Xu family. On the eve of her escape, she saw her father struggling over something and overheard their conversation. Only then did she realize she wasn't of the Xu family's bloodline, but was instead from the Yi family of the Duke of Zhen's estate in the capital, born with the destiny of a phoenix, and that the position of crown princess should have been hers. Everything was caused by that vicious woman, Zhang Mei. As she spoke, she rolled up her sleeve. "Mother, do you still remember? Your own biological daughter has a small red mole on her arm." Mother hesitated for a moment. "My child, you have suffered so much." I rolled my eyes. Zhou Yuli looked at me triumphantly. "I told you, a daughter of the Yi family should be a gentle and virtuous woman, like Miss Xu. How could it ever be someone like Jiaojiao, a little tyrant who whips people at the slightest provocation? She really doesn't act like a young lady of a noble house at all." Slap. I backhanded him with a stinging slap across his face. "Sister, what are you doing? That I can be reunited with you today is all thanks to Brother Yuli. We should be thanking him. Don't call me sister. I don't have a sister like you." Xu Panxing looked aggrieved and hurt. I said to Mother, "Mother, you really must get over this habit of being too soft-hearted. If you weren't so soft, the steward wouldn't dare let just anyone bring children into the manor to work, and the identity of my sister wouldn't be in question." Mother hesitated upon hearing this. I said to Xu Panxing, "If you want to prove you're a daughter of the Yi family, this isn't enough. There are plenty of people in this world who look alike. Does that mean anyone can just come and claim to be kin? I see that you simply don't want to acknowledge me. You're just jealous. You're afraid that if I return, I'll steal our parents' affection for you. And steal your spotlight." Steal? I am the eldest daughter of the Ye family. What is there for me to steal? I know Sister looks down on me because of my rural upbringing, that I know nothing of the arts, and thinks I'm uncouth. But if I hadn't been swapped away, I would have grown up to be a refined noble lady too. Now that I have become what I am, why do you refuse to show me any pity? Zhaozhao, I once thought you were simply high and mighty, but I never expected you to be so greedy and vain, unable to distinguish right from wrong. Panxing, let's go. I will make sure you walk through the front gates of the Ye residence with your head held high. My mother tried to stop them, but they had already walked away. My mother said anxiously, "What are we to do now?" I have absolutely no idea what to do. I knew Xu Panxing and Zhou Yuli would never give up and would surely search for evidence in secret, but I never expected that they would dare to cause a scene on the day the crown prince arrives with the betrothal gifts. That Xu Panxing knelt straight before the Crown Prince. Your Highness, this commoner has suffered a grave injustice. I beg your highness to uphold justice for me. The Crown Prince glanced at Zhou Yuli in surprise, then looked at me as I hurried over from the back courtyard. In that instant, a strong urge to break off the engagement rose within me. If it weren't for Zhou Yuli bringing her, Xu Panxing would never have been able to enter the Yi estate. If you have a grievance, take it to the prefect's office. Today is a day of great celebration, and I will not allow anyone to disrupt it. Guards, drag her away. I had just let out a sigh of relief when I heard Xu Panxing say loudly, Your Highness, please examine the facts. My grievance is directly related to what is happening here today. I only wish to prevent Your Highness from being deceived. Nonsense. Guards, get her out of here at once. Zhou Yuli knelt down as well. Your Highness, everything Panxing says is true. We came here today, not to deliberately cause trouble, but because we cannot stand by while the Yi family commits a fraud and makes a grave mistake. A fraud? A substitute? The Crown Prince chewed on the word with a playful air. I walked slowly to the Crown Prince and bowed in salute. Though there have been rumors about the Yi family's daughter being swapped, they are complete nonsense. It is simply that our household affairs were not managed well. Disturbing Your Highness, this is the Yi family's fault. It isn't. I am truly the Ye family's daughter. Back then, it was my foster mother who intentionally swapped us. Sister, why won't you acknowledge me? Even if I return, I won't take anything away from you. We are both daughters of the Yi family. You have enjoyed fine silks and delicacies, and lived in luxury. But what about me? I had endless farm work to do every day, and I was subjected to the verbal and physical abuse of my foster parents. I know Jiaojiao has been raised by the Ye family for 15 years, and you have grown fond of her. I don't insist on taking her place. I only ask to return to the Yi family to have a place to stay, so that I may serve my parents, and repay the 15 years of filial duty I missed. Even if you cast me out of the Yi estate, I would accept it. Miss Xu, if you wish to show filial piety, you should go to your biological mother. I will say this once more. Our Yi family did not swap any daughters. Zhaozhao, in front of His Royal Highness, are you still going to lie? Do you have any idea that your Yi family is committing treason? My expression turned icy cold. Zhou Yuli was clearly intent on breaking ties with the Yi family. Just then, Zhaozhao walked out and struck Zhou Yuli hard across the face. The sharp sound of the slap shocked everyone present, and even the Crown Prince instinctively took a step back. I stepped forward to hold Zhaojiao's hand, signaling her not to be afraid. Yet Xu Panxing glared at Zhaojiao with resentment and said, Miss Zhaojiao, you have enjoyed the riches and glory of the Yi family for all these years. Now is the time for you to pay it back. Do you really want the Yi family to be punished because of you? Nonsense. Zhaojiao's eyes were slightly red as she walked to the Crown Prince. Brother Crown Prince, do you believe her too? If I am not the daughter of the Yi family, and I do not possess the Phoenix destiny, will you still marry me? The Crown Prince remained silent for a long time before saying softly, I am the Crown Prince, and I must marry a daughter of the Yi family. I must marry someone who carries the Phoenix destiny. Ever since I can remember, everyone told me that I would marry you when I grew up. Now, just because this woman appeared, you don't want me anymore. Is all the affection we've shared over these years fake? The Crown Prince reached out to touch his sister's cheek, but I stepped forward and blocked him. Zhaojiao, even if you weren't a daughter of the Yi family, I would still look after you. It's just that you need to change that temper of yours. Otherwise, I understood exactly what the Crown Prince meant. My sister understood it too, and in the eyes of Xu Panxing, who was kneeling on the ground, a spark of hope ignited. The person the Crown Prince wanted to marry was always just the one with the Phoenix destiny. As for who that person actually was, he didn't care at all. He didn't consider the affection my sister had held for him since childhood. Ever since my sister was old enough to understand that she was to marry the Crown Prince, she had always worked hard to be a qualified Crown Princess. As a young girl, she not only had to master the arts, music, chess, and calligraphy, but also medicine, martial arts, and the skills of household management. She had finally shaped herself into the perfect candidate for the position. Now, someone had suddenly appeared to claim she was a fraud, and all her goals and efforts over the years were rendered meaningless in an instant. My sister's tears finally fell. We both understand now why the Crown Prince came in person to offer the betrothal gifts today. That day, when Zhou Yuli loudly proclaimed in public that Zhaojiao was not the Yi family's biological daughter, it had long long since reached the crown prince's ears. It was only because the Yi family had yet to make a move that he couldn't help but make the trip himself. He didn't come this time to offer betrothal gifts, but to give Xu Panxing a chance. I am very certain that my sister was never swapped. However, the crown prince needs this opportunity. He does not need a brilliant and capable crown princess. He needs one who will put him first in all things and remain under his control. And Xu Panxing is the perfect candidate for that. Even if we refuse to acknowledge Xu Panxing, he will force us to accept her. But he doesn't realize that we, the Yi family, have always valued blood ties above all else. The crown prince reached out a hand towards Xu Panxing. Rise. Many thanks, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Your Highness is wise and mighty. To clear this commoner's name, I am eternally grateful. Just as Xu Panxing stood up, a sudden commotion erupted outside the gate. Eldest miss, there is a woman making a scene at the entrance, claiming that our Yi family kidnapped her child, and she demands to come in and find her. In an instant, I knew exactly who had arrived. Bring her in. Moments later, a disheveled woman stormed in. You wretched hussy, you reckless foul girl. How dare you come to an estate of nobility and cause trouble? Get back here with me right now. Xu Panxing recoiled in fear, nearly shrinking into the crown prince's arms. Zhou Yuli stepped in front of Xu Panxing and scolded loudly, audacious peasant woman, in the presence of His Highness the Crown Prince. How dare you spout such filth? The woman was so terrified that she fell to her knees at once. She prostrated herself on the ground, shivering violently. Your Highness, have mercy. This humble woman would never dare again. I will never dare again. Panxing, is this the wicked woman who swapped you and caused you to live such a difficult life under her hand? Xu Panxing looked as if she had suffered a great grievance and burst into tears. Yes, it was her. She took me away from the Yi household and never treated me well. I hate her so much. That is not true. Even if I were given 100 guts, I would never dare to swap the daughter of the Duke of the State. Your Honor, I am but a simple village woman. It took so much effort to raise my daughter to a marriageable age. But then she went insane, claiming to be the noble daughter of the Duke of the State, and came to the capital to cause trouble. You wretched girl, if you want to die, don't drag our whole family down with you. Xu Panxing, hurry up and come back with me. You are my own flesh and blood. You are the child I brought into this world. Don't you go listening to stories from street performers and truly believe you are some young noble lady. Let me tell you this. No matter what you think, you were born from my womb, and that is the fate you are stuck with for life. I heard everything. You used your own daughter to swap me. I have even obtained the evidence. It is useless for you to deny it. Looking at how silver-tongued this woman was, I finally understood. How did she ever have the nerve to swap someone else's daughter? Perhaps she herself truly believed that she had swapped her own daughter with the youngest daughter of the Duke's estate. That was why she worked the child so hard after taking her to the countryside. The crown prince gave a look. A eunuch nearby stepped forward and crushed the woman's hand under his foot. If you still refuse to tell the truth at this point, I have plenty of ways to make you talk. As the woman was dragged away, she kept on screaming, She really is my daughter. I am not lying. Help me. Xu Panxing wiped away her tears, looking at her sister with dissatisfaction. Miss Zhaozhao, regardless of everything else, she is still your biological mother. She only committed this error for your sake. Setting other things aside, her heartfelt dedication to planning your life is undeniable. Don't you want to plead for her as a daughter? I raised my hand to interrupt her. Then what about you, Miss Xu? That woman raised you for 15 years at the very least, living by your side day and night. Why don't you plead for her? Xu Panxing looked at me in shock. Sister, how can you be so unable to distinguish right from wrong? If not for her, how would I have suffered for these past 10+ years? I ignored her and turned only to bow to the Crown Prince. May I ask, Your Highness, how should today's matter be resolved? The Crown Prince was silent for a moment, then said, The Duke's estate has had such a major lapse. It is indeed time to set things right. I bowed my head. The Duke's estate will certainly give Your Highness an explanation. Back in my room, Mother was pacing back and forth anxiously. What should we do? The Crown Prince actually found out about this. He actually won't marry Jiaojiao anymore. At a time like this, how could he go back on his word? What is our Zhaozhao supposed to do now? Mother, sister, I am not a child of the Yi family, so naturally I shouldn't marry the Crown Prince. I stared at her steadily. Zhaozhao, do you truly wish to marry the Crown Prince? Zhaozhao was taken aback. A look of relief washed over her face. Sister, even if I wanted to, I couldn't marry him now. Besides, the Crown Prince is the type of man. She made an expression that was hard to describe. She then added, Mother, sister, I will move out of the Yi residence as soon as possible, so I don't cause you any further trouble. Move where? you are absolutely not moving anywhere. You are and will always be a child of the Yi family. After saying that, I told her about what had happened during our childhood. Zhaozhao listened completely stunned, yet she asked with concern, "Sister, could you have misremembered? What if I wasn't the one who was switched?" I rolled up her sleeve. "There is also a red birthmark here, except Xu Panxing's is on the left side, while yours is on the right." I continued, "Furthermore, we of the Yi family possess strength far greater than the average person. I had someone test Xu Panxing. Her strength is just like anyone else's. No, I will go tell the crown prince right now. You are my true daughter." But the crown prince might not believe me. My sister suddenly spoke up. "Sister, I do not want to marry the crown prince, and I don't want you to marry Zhou Yuli either." I nodded with a smile and held her hand. "All right. Over these past few days, I have finished my investigation. My sister was switched during her first month, but the imperial preceptor delivered his prophecy at her 100-day banquet. In other words, the preceptor was indeed prophesying Zhaojiao's fate. With a single word from the grand preceptor, our lives as sisters were defined by his prophecy for most of our years. Afterward, Mother entered the palace to beg the Empress for forgiveness, claiming she had been lax in governing her household and had nearly invited a great disaster. She pleaded for the Empress to punish her. The Empress issued an imperial edict, demoting Mother from a first-rank lady to a second-rank. Father and my 3 brothers also submitted petitions of repentance. The Emperor seized the opportunity to reprimand them, stripping the Duke of the state title and reducing our house to the status of Marquess of the North. The hereditary title was revoked as well. Had it not been for the belief that the Phoenix destiny rested upon our house, the Emperor likely wouldn't have even left us with the title of Marquess. Zhaozhao was sent away from the Yi estate to the borderlands she loved. We, the Yi family, brought Xu Panxing back instead and renamed her Yi Panxing, waiting only for the month to pass before her marriage to the crown prince. Throughout that month, Yi Panxing appeared respectful in my presence, but in reality she was arrogant. She called me a spinster, saying I should have been married off long ago. She also claimed I was unworthy of Zhou Yuli, and that marrying into the Zhou family would be a slight to him. Because of his significant contribution to the return of Yi Panxing, Zhou Yuli was appointed as a director in the crown prince's household, even before he had taken the imperial examinations. I also seized the chance to break off my engagement with the Zhou family. The Zhou brothers were also transferred from a remote county back to the capital by the crown prince. A month later, Yi Panxing was married in a grand ceremony. My father and brothers sent wedding gifts, yet not one of them returned from the border. Before the wedding, Yi Panxing wept while clinging to Mother's knees. "Mother, why must Father be so heartless? I am also a daughter of the Yi family. When I marry, Father and my brothers won't even come back to see me. Do you truly love that fake daughter more? I am your true flesh and blood child. Why are you treating me like this?" Mother forced a smile onto her face. "Your father and brothers are guarding the border and cannot leave without an imperial decree. Since you are a daughter of the Yi family, you should be understanding. Today is your big day. Stop crying now." Yi Panxing turned to look at me again. "Sister, I know in your heart that fake sister is better than me, the real one. But I am the crown princess. I am the future pillar of the Yi family. Sister, you must understand this. Don't worry, sister. Once I enter the Eastern Palace, I will definitely find you a good match." I smiled indifferently. "Then I thank you for your concern, sister. Actually, she has only been in the manor for a month and is already marrying into the Eastern Palace. Neither Mother nor I ever really cared for her, but in this past month, she has been competitive in everything, insisting on comparing herself to me in every matter. Anything she sets her eyes on, whether it belongs to me or Mother, she finds a way to demand it for herself. She also constantly keeps an eye on the dowry, terrified that we might tamper with it. The dowry originally prepared for Zhaojiao was all taken by her. She even demanded we add more to it, acting as if she wouldn't stop until the Yi family treasury was emptied. To ensure her wedding went smoothly, Mother had no choice but to agree, and today she wants to make a scene again, which is truly exhausting. Seeing my calm expression, Yi Panxing had a sudden thought. "Sister, why don't you, as a concubine, join me in the Eastern Palace?" When those words came out, the atmosphere in the room instantly froze. Mother stared at her and asked in a cold voice, "Panxing, what did you just say?" "Mother didn't hear you clearly. Say it again." Seeing Mother's anger, Yi Panxing pursed her lips. "Mother, why are you so angry? I was only joking with my sister." I reached out to adjust her phoenix crown. "Panxing, you are about to become the crown princess. Some jokes are not to be taken lightly. It's true, you have only been home for 3 months. You haven't had time to learn the precepts for women or needlework, but it doesn't matter. After you marry into the Eastern Palace, Mother and I will surely appeal to the Empress. We will ask her to bestow a governess upon you, so you can study diligently and soon become a proper crown princess." Yi Panxing glared at me viciously. The cautious demeanor she had when we first met was long gone. The impending power had given her great confidence. Yet she forgot that, had she not been a daughter of the Yi family, the crown prince would never have given her a second look. The auspicious hour had arrived. Wearing the phoenix crown, Yi Panxing boarded the sedan chair. Mother and I watched as the carriage pulled away. Mother couldn't help but sigh. If only it had been Zhaozhao in that sedan chair today. How wonderful that would have been. I said softly, if it had been sister in that sedan chair today, none of us would be able to sleep tonight. Mother and I exchanged a glance, and smiles appeared on both our faces. Everyone believes that marrying into the Eastern Palace to be the crown princess is a tremendous blessing for the family, but my parents and I all know that the crown prince's ship is sinking. Now, with this fake sister rushing to plug the leaks, we couldn't have asked for anything better. However, since Yi Panxing is nominally a daughter of the Yi family now, if something happens to the crown prince, the Yi family will be implicated as well. I only hope the crown prince's ship sinks slowly, leaving us enough time to plan our next move. 6 months later, I was kneeling before the Buddha reciting sutras. The hall doors were suddenly pushed open. Yi Panxing rushed in, reaching out to grab me. Sister, come with me at once. Something terrible has happened. The maid blocked her path, refusing to let her touch me. Yi Panxing snapped sharply. You wretched slave, get out of my way at once. I am the crown princess. How dare you block me? If anything happens to the crown prince, I will have you buried with him. But the maid remained standing firmly in front of her. I finished my scriptures before slowly rising to my feet. What is it? The emperor has ordered the crown prince to be confined to the Eastern Palace. Only the Yi family can save him now. Sister, I beg you, write to father immediately. Ask him to plead with the emperor for the crown prince. Oh, what did the crown prince do to make the emperor this furious? Besides, father is far away at the frontier. I fear he cannot quench a fire from so far away. Sister, come with me to the Eastern Palace at once. The crown prince is waiting for you. I shook my head. The crown princess ordered me to stay on this mountain for 3 months of contemplation. It has only been half a month. A commoner like me dare not leave the mountain at will. Sister, it is an emergency. Must you still haggle with me over such things? Once the crown prince gets past this hurdle, I will make amends to you, sister. You may punish me however you like, sister. She grabbed me, trying to pull me away, but I did not budge an inch. The crown prince is the heir to the nation. How can he be so easily deposed? My Yi family is now merely a small marquis of the northern town. I fear we cannot be of any help to the crown prince. I suggest the crown princess seeks a higher authority. Yi Panxing looked at me in disbelief. Sister, do you not understand that we share the same fate of honor and disgrace? If the crown prince is deposed, the Yi family will also be implicated. Yi Panxing, if you truly are blessed with the phoenix's fate, your husband, the crown prince, will naturally overcome any danger. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Yi Panxing hissed with hatred. Sister, ever since I returned to the Yi family, you have never been close to me. You have never once treated me like a real sister. Since that is how it is, don't come begging to me. When something happens to the Yi family later, she stormed off, full of resentment. I told my maid, pack our things. It is time for us to head down the mountain as well. In truth, I had initially felt a degree of guilt toward Yi Panxing. Strictly speaking, she was a victim as well, merely a pawn in this game. My father, brothers, and I had originally planned to secure a good future for her later on. But a petty person once empowered becomes insufferable. Since becoming the crown princess, she had constantly flaunted her power over the Yi family and found every way to humiliate me at various banquets. She constantly sought out ways to cause me trouble, hoping to step on me to highlight her superior status. I grew tired of dealing with her underhanded schemes. So after one particular confrontation, I took the opportunity to move to the Taoist temple for meditation. Now, the time to reveal her true identity had arrived. On the night I returned home, the crown prince arrived overnight in disguise. There was a flicker of impatience in his eyes, but he still spoke to me in a low voice. Panxing is ignorant. I am here to apologize to you on her behalf, sister. I did not respond. The crown prince continued, revealing his true purpose. He had repeatedly interfered with the salt administration and embezzled funds meant for building levees in Jiangnan, which led to massive flooding in the region. He had also taken most of the relief funds sent by the imperial court. Now, Jiangnan was littered with corpses, and a plague was running rampant. He actually wanted me to write to my father and brothers, asking them to secretly lead troops to surround the infected cities, to prevent the plague from spreading, and suppress the uprisings in those places at the same time. I gasped in horror after hearing this. I knew the crown prince was greedy and had embezzled plenty, but I didn't realize his greed knew no bounds. He had caused such a catastrophic disaster. The crown prince's eyes were filled with anxiety. His Majesty has already sent investigators to to Zhangyan. If they manage to seize the account books and bring back witnesses, it would be extremely detrimental to me. His Majesty has confined me to the Eastern Palace, so I have no one else I can turn to. I must rely on you, sister. I took a sip of tea and pondered for a long time. I said to the Crown Prince, I can only try my best, but the Crown Prince should prepare for every eventuality. The Crown Prince heaved a sigh of relief, his expression relaxing instantly, as if to believe that as long as the Yi family intervened, nothing could possibly go wrong. He watched as I wrote a letter to my father and brother in his presence, and only left with satisfaction after I released the carrier pigeon. After the Crown Prince left, my mother looked at me with deep concern. Are we really going to get involved in this? I shook my head, and with a whistle, the carrier pigeon flew right back to me. I retrieved the letter and burned it over the lamp. I had long since witnessed the Crown Prince's cold-hearted nature. Why would I ever wade into these muddy waters? By asking the Yi family to do these things, he never once considered what would happen to us. If the truth came to light, as expected, evidence of the Crown Prince's crimes was soon delivered to the Emperor. The Emperor was furious, and with pressure from all sides, the calls to depose the Crown Prince grew louder and louder. Xu Panxing came running to question me, demanding to know why I didn't save the Crown Prince. Sister, I am already carrying the Crown Prince's child. If the Crown Prince is deposed, then my destiny to be Empress is ruined, too. Why won't you save me? Looking at her pale face, I laughed. Who told you that you were destined to be Empress? Xu Panxing stomped her foot. The prophecy made by the imperial astrologer. Could it possibly be wrong? The imperial astrologer prophesied that the phoenix destiny belonged to the Yi family's youngest daughter. And you are not her. So even now, sister, you still refuse to acknowledge that I am a daughter of the Ye family. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. After Xu Panxing left the Yi estate, she went straight to the palace. She claimed she wanted to report the crimes of the Crown Prince and the Yi family, begging the Emperor only to spare her and the child in her womb. My mother and I were also summoned to the palace. The Emperor coldly tossed a book of records at us. It detailed the days during the Crown Prince's confinement, when he secretly slipped out of the palace, and which officials he met with to discuss what matters. It was clearly written there that the Crown Prince had visited the Yi estate to discuss how to cover his tracks. My mother reported to the Emperor that although the Crown Prince did visit the Yi estate, the Yi family never participated in any of the things he did. You are the Crown Princess's natal family. How could you possibly have sat by and done nothing? Your Majesty, please be discerning. The Crown Princess is not a daughter of the Yi family. She was never added to the Yi family genealogy. Whatever the Crown Princess may have done actually has nothing to do with the Yi family. On the contrary, ever since she entered the Eastern Palace, she has made things difficult for the Yi family at every turn. The Yi family has been trying to avoid the Eastern Palace. What? The Yi family has such audacity to have deceived me so many times. The Emperor was furious. I was forced to clarify what happened on the day the Crown Prince brought the betrothal gifts. At that time, the Crown Prince and his supervisor Zhou Yuli brought evidence to make the Yi family acknowledge Xu Panxing. The Crown Prince also declared that Xu Panxing was the one destined to be the Empress. With the wedding date approaching, the Yi family had no choice but to comply with the Crown Prince's wishes. But it wasn't until a few days ago that I discovered Zhaozhao as the true daughter of the Yi family. I was just about to have my father and brother submit a petition to confess our mistakes. At this moment, a eunuch reports, my father and brother's confession petition has arrived. The Crown Prince, face ashen, collapses to the side. Xu Panxing screams, you are lying. I am the daughter of the Yi family. I pull a box from my robes and hand it to the Emperor. Your Majesty, this is the bone-testing grass I spent months searching for. Xu Panxing looks on, bewildered. Bone-testing grass. What does this grass have to do with anything? Seeing her ignorance, I clarify for her, this is a divine herb from the Valley of the Immortal Healers, capable of distinguishing one's own flesh and blood. Steep it in the blood of the biological parents for 3 days. Then let the child consume it. If they are truly their offspring, they will remain unharmed. But if they are not, they will suffer agonizing stomach pain in moments. The Emperor orders a physician to step forward and examine it, confirming that it is indeed the precious bone-testing grass. I am a daughter of the Yi family. I will eat it. I will eat it. She hastily tears off a few leaves and swallows them. Before long, her body begins to tremble violently. Sweat pours down her face as she cries out, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. I am not in pain at all. I am the real one. I am not a fake. Yet anyone with eyes can see that she is forcing herself to endure the agony. Soon, she can no longer hold it back, clutching her stomach and rolling on the ground. The crown prince casts a look of shock at her, then glares at me with eyes full of venom. I know that his last glimmer of hope is gone. Before I entered the palace, some Oni sent me a message. The emperor once told the crown prince that if he could convince the Yi father and son to hand over the tiger tally, his position as crown prince would be secure. Now, the crown princess has been proven not to be the daughter of the Yi family. How could the Yi family possibly just submit? In the end, the empress was deposed, and the crown prince was demoted to a commoner. He was moved out of the East Palace and into a small, humble residence. Countless people were executed or had their families ruined because of this. The Zhou family was also entirely exiled. Before the Zhou family was exiled, Zhou Yuli even came to beg me, asking me to save the Zhou family for the sake of our former engagement. I didn't even have to step in myself. The servants chased him away. The Yi family had been the crown princess's natal family, and many were waiting to see us make fools of ourselves. But after this affair, aside from a reprimand for the Yi family and my father and brother being demoted, we managed to come out of it unscathed. That deposed crown prince often lingers near the Yi estate, hoping to accidentally run into Zhaozhao. He believes his current state is entirely due to marrying the wrong person, mistaking a peasant girl for a girl of noble phoenix destiny. He thinks that as long as Zhaozhao still has feelings for him and is willing to marry him, he will have a chance to make a comeback. But Zhaozhao has long since left the capital. Every day he takes his anger out on Xu Panxing. It wasn't long before Xu Panxing lost her baby. Dragging her battered body, she secretly came to find me, begging me to save her life. I gave her some money, and I rescued Jiang Mei from prison and sent her to her side. I heard that the deposed crown prince fights with Jiang Mei and her daughter every day. It's quite the spectacle. Not long after, Xu Panxing and Jiang Mei ran away together. I had my people drag them back. After all, she is already married. How could she just run off so easily? 6 months later, Zhaozhao returned, her face radiant with happiness. She told me that she has found the one she wants to marry. I snuck a peek. It was the 10th prince, that sickly, overlooked soul who spent his whole life stationed at the border. So, the Grand Preceptor's prophecy was true. My younger sister is truly destined for the throne.